Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. So today I'm going to be starting on a new project that's probably going to take a little while to put together and probably be several videos over several weeks as we construct this. But I'm finally getting around to building the new furnace that I need to do some casting with. So if you've been watching my channel for a while and keeping up with what's going on, I've got a little small furnace that I built many years ago, mainly for melting aluminum in, and I'm kind of moving up now, wanting to do more brass, and got a project for my safe restoration where I need to pour some brass, do some brass foundry work. And the situation with the furnace that I built earlier is it was made primarily for aluminum, and I'm really not getting the temperatures in that furnace that I need to properly melt brass. So I've got plans, and I'm actually building a larger furnace this time that will give me a little more capacity, and also with a different burner setup to get more heat so that I can melt brass easily. So the first part of this project is going to be fabricating, I guess, a base that the actual foundry furnace itself will sit upon. So a little bit about the furnace. So the outside diameter, the largest diameter of it is going to be 24 inches in diameter. Now the hole that goes in the center is going to be much less than that. I don't have my drawings here in front of me, but you know, you got a lot of insulation. Obviously, you're getting really high temperatures in here. And for the insulation part, we're basically going to use a castable refractory. So refractory, if you don't know what that term means, it's kind of, in layman's term, I guess it would be like a cement type material that you can mold and cast using forms, the castable part of the refractory. And the refractory part is that it can be able to handle very high temperatures. And the refractory material that I have will be capable of standing temperatures up to about 3,000 degrees. My furnace probably won't get quite that hot, but I wanted to have that capacity, and I wanted to make sure that I was over-engineering. So the castable part will be about 3 inches thick, and then there'll actually be another blanket, I guess, around the outside of that will give additional insulation. But basically it's going to have to sit inside of a 24-inch circle, and it's going to be quite heavy. You're talking about an awful lot of this refractory material. The refractory material is probably even a little bit more denser than concrete. In fact, I'm estimating that this thing is going to probably weigh between 800 and 900 pounds when it's all said and done. So the plan is again, I've got some steel here that we're going to weld up a frame. It's going to have some legs on it to sit it off the ground, and to move it around, I'm going to design it where my pallet jack can go right up underneath it, and I can pick it up and move it with my pallet jack. So the legs will be positioned where the pallet jack can just straddle right over it. So the material that we're making this out of is some channel. And this is quite honestly some recycled material. This is some material that I salvaged. It's a little bit rusty. I'm going to have to clean it up. But instead of going and buying new material, I had this stuff sitting around. I said, you know what, we're going to use that. So this, I think that's 1.5 inches. Let me grab a tape. Okay, no, it's 2 inches wide, and it's about 1 inch high channel. And I think it's about a 1/4 inch thick wall all around. So some pretty good stuff. And I've laid out what I want to build, and I will zoom you in here so you can see this. So to kind of give you an idea of my layout here, this is just a little drawing that I did. So I started out, of course the furnace will be circular, it'll be 24 inches in diameter. So I drew this to scale using a compass, and I started out by just drawing what represents a 24-inch diameter circle. And this, an 1/8 inch to 1 inch, is the scale that I'm using. But I drew that on there, and of course I then drew kind of a box around that, a 24-inch diameter box. Now the back side, I was fine with having that come out square, but the front I wanted to kind of cut the corners off, just so that it wouldn't have a bunch of material sitting out there. So again, using some dimensions here, I came up, 12 inches would be the center, so I went half of that again, so another 16 inches. So this piece here is 18, and I'm basically cutting off a 6 inch by 6 inch corner. And to be able to calculate my pieces I need to cut, for this side here, I just used some good old basic geometry. I used the Pythagorean theorem, where I knew that these two sides here of this right triangle were 6 inches and 6 inches. So, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is the hypotenuse. So 6 times 6 is 36. You add those together, get the square root, and you come out to, I think it was 8.47 inches is what the long edge of this pieces need to be, and then 12 inches across the front. So once I had my drawing here all put together, the next step was to actually cut the pieces out. You know, we started out just piecing this together, so we got, 24 inches on this long side. This corner here being a 90-degree angle, we took half of that, which is 45. And then when we come up to these angles, these were cut at 22.5 degrees across there. And as you can see, all my pieces here, I've laid them out and they fit together well. And we got 24 inches this way, 24 inches that way. And that circle should come right around and touch these corners when we put it on here. And again, the back will be sticking out a little bit, but that's fine. It gives me a little more stability in the back. So this is now very close to being able to weld up. But before I do, I want to clean this up. Again, I'm using salvage material, and this is kind of rusty, dirty. So I think what I'm going to do is just put these parts in my blasting cabinet, sandblast them real quick, clean them up. Then we'll come in here and prep these corners, grind a little bevel in there, and start welding this up. Well, I came out here to start blasting these parts, and I said, there's some trash in my glove, and I reached my hand in here and a bird comes flying out at me at 100 miles an hour. So looks as though, great. A bird has built a nest in here, and 3 little eggs in the nest. I hate to do it, but I need to use my blaster, and I really don't want birds raising and crapping and everything else inside my glove. So this has got to go. So we're ready to start welding this together. So I'll start by just tacking it in, and I want to make sure I got everything up in square. So I've got a framing square here, and I also got one of these little magnets that goes into the inside corner to help set these up. And right now we're going to start by just again tacking everything, and that way we can tweak this thing around until we get the shape just right, and then we'll weld her up. All right, so that looks decent. Guys, I won't profess to be any expert when it comes to welding. I can make a decent weld, I can make it stick, but I don't weld for a living, and so I'm sure a lot of you guys out there might be better at this than I am, but this will be more than sufficient for what I'm going to do. So we're going to go ahead and take and just grind these welds on the top down flush, because we're going to put a plate down on top of this, and then we'll cut the legs and put the legs up underneath it. So slight engineering change here, engineering on the fly I guess, but I've decided I'm going to put some bracing in here. There's going to be a lot of weight on this, and I just want to make sure that I got plenty of support up underneath it, and not just be supporting the rim, but have some support in the middle. So I've got 2 braces, they're kind of equally spaced in here, and that should help just hold the load on it. And anyway, we're going to weld those in, and then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to put the legs. The legs are just going to be this will be welded on the bottom, but there'll be 2 of them on the back, and I've got to measure this. I know the width of my pallet jack, so these have to be, they won't be out on the ends, they're going to be on the inside, because the pallet jack's got to be able to come up underneath it. But I'm just going to do 3 legs, 2 in the back and 1 in the front, and the reason for that is that 3 points is always more stable than 1. A foundry ideally should not be on a concrete floor. It should be on dirt, so that if you have any molten metal spill out, it won't, if it's on concrete, it can cause the concrete to explode. So the bottom line is the floor that this is going to sit on will likely be uneven, and a tripod will just be more stable. So that's the plan, and we're going to go ahead and weld this up. Yeah, that's the problem. I can't see good in this thing, and I started my bead. I wasn't down the line. Let's do it again. Much better. So that's got the actual structural part of the base finished up, and the next thing we want to do is we want to actually put a plate on here, a deck on here, to give support for the furnace to sit on. So we've got a piece of 3/16 inch steel here, steel plating, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the shape using the torch, and to do that, basically I've just traced around the outside here, with the outline of what I need, and we're going to purposely cut this to the inside of the line because I want it to be a little bit on the small side so we can go around and basically tack it down to that channel. Now, you know, in an ideal world, yeah, we could put this on a CNC plasma cam or something like that, but again, guys, you know, I don't have access to that. I've got a torch, and we can do this quick and easy, or I can take it off someplace, have to wait a couple of days and spend a bunch of money to accomplish the same thing, and I'm more inclined to just do it the old-fashioned way. So we're going to torch it out with the torch. My torching ability isn't that great enough, or at least good enough to keep a perfectly straight edge. So what I got is just a piece of metal here, and I'll use this as a template to kind of guide my torch along to help make sure I get a good straight line. And just a little trick you can do with a cutting torch to get a good straight line on something. Just use a fence basically to run the torch upon along. So we'll go ahead and fire this thing up and get this cut out. So that appears to be a pretty good fit on here. So what we're going to do now is go around this with the grinder and just clean this edge up a little bit. We'll take a wire wheel, get all the rust off of this, and we'll weld it in place. Now that this is all cleaned up and prepped and the edge looks good, we're going to go ahead and just weld this to the frame itself, make it all one piece. Alright guys, so I think this will be about a wrap on part one of this episode, or series of episodes on building my new Foundry furnace. This should make a good platform on which to build the rest of the furnace. Again, some of my design considerations, it needs to be a 24-inch circle, and the next step actually will be I'm going to get a piece of a 3-inch high band iron basically and have it bent into a circle, welded up, and we're going to weld that on place, and then that will become basically the form in which we will pour or cast the bottom refractory for the furnace, and then we will build up from it from there. You know, we went with a tripod design to give us stability on uneven surfaces. I would really have liked to have gotten these back legs out on the corners, but again, because I'm moving this with a pallet jack, I need to have room for the pallet jack to get under there, and the pallet jack, the legs are just far enough apart where it'll clear, but the pallet jack is actually a little bit wider than the top of this. If I think that's going to be a problem, I may come back in here and weld on some little outriggers to give these back legs a little bit wider, make a little more stability. It is a little bit, you know, I'm not real happy with that, but I think that putting out some runners on this can be a solution to that if we deem that necessary as we get a little farther down the project. But for now, this is it. Once we get that ring on here, I'm going to paint this with some good high temp paint to help protect it, keep it from rusting up, and we'll go from there. So be looking out for part 2 of this series as we get time to work on this some more. So thanks a lot for watching.